My name is Darius. I am 22 years old, and I want to tell you about the night I drove to the west side of town to pick up a girl I met on a dating app. I pulled up to her address at 6:30 in the evening. I texted her from the car. I waited, and by the time I realized there was no girl, I had already walked through the front door. If you have ever used a dating app, keep listening, because this one is for you. Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from tonight. And if you enjoy true scary stories, hit subscribe before we get into this, because I have 3 of them, and they all start the same way, with a phone and a stranger, and a decision that felt completely normal at the time. Let me start from the beginning. I had been single for almost a year when I downloaded OkCupid. My first real relationship had ended at 21, and I was not handling being alone particularly well. Not in a dramatic way, just in the way where you reach for your phone too often, and the evenings feel longer than they used to. I downloaded 4 or 5 apps in the same week. OkCupid was the one I used most. I matched with a girl named Brenna about 3 weeks in. Her profile was detailed and specific. She listed her interests, her job, her neighborhood. She was funny in the way she described herself, not trying too hard funny, just naturally easy to read. We started messaging and the conversation went well from the first exchange. She was into a lot of the same things I was into. The messages came quickly and felt real. After about a week of back and forth, we agreed to go out for food. She gave me her address and told me to pick her up at 6:30. The west side of town was about 15 minutes from my apartment. I did not know that area particularly well. It was a residential neighborhood, older houses close together, parked cars lining both sides of the street. I pulled up to the address with the GPS telling me I had arrived. It was a single-family house, front porch light on, a car in the driveway, lights on inside behind the curtains. I texted Brenna to let her know I was out front. She took a while to respond. I sat in the car and watched the house and waited. A few minutes passed, then the typing bubble appeared, and she said, "Sorry about that, my brother is going to come outside. First, he is being protective and wants to meet you." I typed back that I did not really want to do the meet the brother thing before we had even gone on a date yet. She said she understood, but that he was insisting, and she was sorry. She said it would only take a minute. I sat there for a second. I told myself this was probably just a normal thing. Some families are protective. Some guys have older brothers who take that role seriously. It was inconvenient, but not alarming. The front door opened. A man came out and walked down the porch steps toward my car. I got out to meet him. He was tall, significantly taller than me, and broader through the shoulders. The first thing I noticed after the height was his skin tone. He had described himself as her brother, but his complexion was considerably darker than the girl in Brenna's photos. Dark enough that the family resemblance was not there at all. I noticed it and then told myself that families come in all combinations, and it was not something to make assumptions about. He introduced himself as Will. He shook my hand with a firm grip and held it just a half second longer than normal. He seemed friendly. He smiled. He started talking about how he just wanted to make sure I was a good guy, that his sister meant a lot to him, that he liked to know who she was spending time with. I said all the things you say in that situation. I was polite. I answered his questions. He seemed satisfied. After a couple of minutes, he said I should come inside and meet Brenna directly, and then we could head out. I followed him inside. The front door closed behind me. He told me to wait in the living room while he went upstairs to get her. I stepped into the living room and he went up the staircase. There were 2 men on the couch. I noticed them the moment I stepped into the room. 2 men I had not seen come in. 2 men who had been sitting there the whole time Will was outside with me. They were looking at me, not the casual glance of someone noticing a new person in the room, a specific kind of look, steady and evaluating. Neither of them said anything. I said, "What's up?" One of them gave a barely there nod. The other did not move at all. From upstairs, I heard Will's voice calling down. He said he was having trouble finding her. He did not come back downstairs. I turned to look into the dining room that opened off to my left. There was a fourth man sitting at the dining table, also looking at me, also silent. 4 men, no girl, a door behind me. The math happened in about 1 second. I stepped backward. My hand found the door handle. I did not turn my back to the room. One of the men on the couch shouted, "Grab him." I pulled the door open and ran. The porch steps, the driveway, my car door, the lock. I got into the driver's seat with maybe a second between me and the first man out the door. They came down the steps and surrounded the car before I got the engine started. They were hitting the windows, kicking the doors. I could hear the impacts through the glass. I could see one of them winding up to hit the passenger window with both hands locked together. I put the car in reverse and got out of the driveway. I drove home with both hands on the wheel and my heart in my throat and did not stop until I was in front of my own building. My parents were still awake. I told them everything, still catching my breath. They told me to call the police. I did. The report went through and officers went to that address. A neighbor had seen the whole thing from their front window. Saw the men coming out of the house, saw them surrounding my car, saw me drive off. They gave a statement anonymously. Police arrested 3 of the 4 men at or near that address. Will, or whatever his name actually was among them. The 4th man was never identified or found. Brenna's profile on OkCupid was gone by the following morning, deleted. Whether she was real, whether she was involved, whether her photos had been stolen and used without her knowledge, I never found out. The whole thing had been engineered from the first message. Every conversation, every detail in the profile, the week of texting, the pickup time, the address, all of it was designed to get a 22-year-old man to walk through a specific front door at 6:30 on a weeknight. It very nearly worked. I kept using dating apps after that. But I never went to an address I had not verified first. And I never went inside anyone's home on a first meeting without telling someone exactly where I was and checking in when I arrived. Because the thing that scared me most was not the men in the house. It was how ordinary everything felt right up until the moment the door closed behind me. The second story, my name is Connor. I am 24, and I want to tell you about a girl named Kylie. I had been on Match.com for a while, met a few people. One of them I dated for 4 months. After that ended, I was not looking for anything serious, just someone to spend time with on evenings when the apartment felt too quiet. Kylie messaged me first. Her profile was minimal, not many photos, short bio. She seemed easy to talk to in the chat and said she was fine coming over to hang out. No restaurant, no public meeting, just come over. That suited me fine at the time. She showed up about 30 minutes after we decided on it. She was quiet in person. I noticed that immediately. Online, she had been fairly responsive and direct. In person, she barely spoke unless I asked her something. I showed her around the apartment, which took about 45 seconds, and we went up to my room and put on the TV, and I tried to keep a conversation going. She answered questions. She did not ask many of her own. The silences were long, and I kept filling them because silence with someone you just met feels like failure when you are 24. I talked more than I had intended to. She sat on the edge of the bed with her hands in her lap and looked at the TV more than at me. I noticed as the evening went on that her speech was slowing down. Not in the way someone slows down when they are tired and comfortable, in a way that felt like something pulling the words back. She would start a sentence and then trail off and stare at the middle distance. The topics she brought up got progressively heavier. She said something about how she felt like no one in her life actually wanted to be around her. She said something about how most days she had trouble feeling anything at all. I was paying attention by this point in a different way than I had been at the start of the evening. Then she said she appreciated me letting her sleep over. I said I had not offered that. She looked at me calmly and said, when I had told her to come hang out for the night, she had understood that to mean the full night. She asked which blanket she could use for the floor. I did not know how to argue with the logic of it in the moment. She seemed genuinely distressed underneath everything. I got her a blanket and a pillow and set it up on the floor. She laid down facing away from me without another word. I turned off the TV and lay in the dark thinking about what exactly was happening in my own bedroom. I fell asleep eventually without meaning to. I woke up at some point in the middle of the night. No alarm. Just woke up suddenly the way you do when something in your sleep tells you that your environment has changed. I sat up and looked at the floor. She was not there. The blanket was pushed to one side. The pillow was on the floor. But Kylie was gone. I turned on the lamp and looked around the room. Nothing. I got up and checked the bathroom in the hall. Empty. Then I heard a sound from downstairs. My apartment has thin walls and thin floors. You can hear most sounds from one level to the next. What I heard was a voice, low and even. Not a phone call. No pauses in the talking. Just a continuous low murmur coming up through the floor from the kitchen below. I stood at the top of the stairs and listened. I could not make out words, just the cadence of it. A soft, ongoing sound from someone talking in a room below me in the dark at what I guessed was 2 or 3 in the morning. I went downstairs. The kitchen light was off. The only light was the faint glow from the street light outside coming through the window above the sink. She was sitting at the kitchen table, one of the chairs pulled away from the table and angled toward the wall. She was sitting in it, facing the wall. Her back was to me. She was talking, low and continuous. I could not make out individual words. Her head was slightly down. Her hands were in her lap. I stood in the kitchen doorway for a moment and said her name. She stopped talking. She turned her head slowly and looked at me over her shoulder. Her face was calm, not startled, not embarrassed, just still. She held eye contact for a few seconds and then turned back to face the wall. I went upstairs fast. I got back into bed and pulled the covers up and called my dad. He picked up on the third call. I told him in a low voice exactly what was happening. A girl from online staying the night sitting in my dark kitchen talking to herself at 3 in the morning. He told me to call 911 if anything escalated. He told me to stay calm. And then I saw the figure in my doorway. She was standing at the bedroom door. The hallway behind her was dark. I could see her outline in the frame, thin, still. She had come up the stairs without me hearing a single step. She stood there. My dad was saying hello into the phone. I could not respond. I was watching the doorway. She charged. She crossed the room faster than I expected, and she came at me on the bed. Both hands went for my throat. She got a grip, and she was stronger than she looked. I grabbed her wrists and pulled, and got her hands off my neck. I got her down and pinned her against the mattress and screamed at my dad to call the police. She was screaming too. A sound that did not seem to belong to a person having an episode. It seemed to belong to a person in a crisis that had been building for a long time and had finally found a direction. I got her out of the bedroom. I got her to the ground floor. The police arrived while we were in the entryway. They took her outside. I sat on my couch and gave a statement. They told me she would receive care. They did not tell me what kind or where. I have not been able to find any information about her since that night. The profile is gone. No trace. I have thought a lot about that evening over the years. I have thought about her silence at the beginning, the way the conversation got heavier as the hours passed, the way she asked to stay, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Whatever was happening inside her that night had been building for a long time before she walked through my door. I hope she got help. I genuinely mean that. But I also replaced the lock on my bedroom door the following week. And I have never let someone I just met come directly to my apartment without meeting them somewhere public first. That rule has not moved once. The third story. My name is Eli. I am 26. And this one is about a girl named Maria who I never actually met. February of 2014. Deep winter. I was in my apartment on a weeknight using an app called Badoo. If you have not heard of it, the short version is that it was a casual dating and meeting app that had a lot of users at the time. I was talking to maybe 5 different people at once, the way you do when you know that most conversations on those apps go nowhere. One conversation stood out. Her name on the app was Maria. She messaged easily. She matched my pace. She was specific in a way that made her feel real. She mentioned things about her week, about her neighborhood, about small frustrations and small good things. It felt like talking to an actual person rather than trading profile lines back and forth. We had been messaging for a few days when I asked if she wanted to hang out that night. She said yes. She asked for my address. I gave it to her without thinking twice. I know how that sounds now. At the time, it was just what you did when someone was coming over. You give your address. I sent it, and she said she would be right over. I asked her to send me her number so we could text. She said she would in a second. Then the app showed her as offline. That little indicator that appeared when someone had not been active for a few minutes. I figured she was on her way and her phone was in her pocket. I went back to watching TV and checked the app every so often. She stayed offline. An hour passed, then an hour and a half. I told myself she had probably changed her mind or something came up. It happens. I went to bed. I woke up at 6:30 the next morning to a gray, rainy day outside my window. I picked up my phone to check the time and saw Badoo notifications. Maria had messaged while I was sleeping. The first message was at 3 in the morning. It said, "Hey, I am coming now." The second was at 3:20. It said, "I am here." The third was at 4. It said, "I am watching you." And the indicator showed she was online. Right now, active. As I was reading the messages in bed at 6:30 in the morning, she was on the other end. My chest went tight in a way that happens before your brain catches up to your body. Then the notification sound played. A new message from Maria. "How did you sleep?" I sat straight up in bed. I went immediately to the window and moved the curtain aside to look at the street below. The street was wet from the rain, a couple of parked cars, no one visible on the sidewalk. I let the curtain fall back. I typed back asking who this was. 10 seconds passed. The response said, "Check your closet and find out." I looked across the room. My closet door was closed. I was almost certain I had left it closed. I always left it closed. But even as I was thinking that, the door moved, slow. An inch at first, then another inch, opening toward me from the inside. The darkness inside the closet revealed itself in a growing vertical strip as the door came open. I shouted for my dad. I was up and moving before I finished the word. Past the closet door without looking at it and out into the hallway. I went straight to my dad's room. His bed was empty, made and empty. He had gone away for the weekend. I had completely forgotten. I stood in his empty bedroom doorway with my heart slamming in my chest and my closet door open across the hall. My older brother was home. His room was at the end of the hall. I went to him and woke him up and told him I needed him to check the closet with me right now. We went back to my room together. The closet door was fully open now. My brother went in first. He pushed the clothes to both sides and looked at the floor and the corners. He crouched down and looked at the low shelf at the back. Nothing. No one in the closet. No sign that anyone had been in it. My brother looked at me with the expression of someone who has been woken up at 6:30 in the morning to check a closet. Then the cold air hit us, coming from the window on the far wall, my bedroom window that I had not locked the night before because I never thought to lock it in winter. Why would anyone come through a second-floor window in February The window was not open wide, just cracked, an inch or two. Enough to let the cold February air in. Enough for someone who had been out there to have pushed it up and back down from outside, or from inside on the way out. The closet door had not opened on its own. Something had moved it. I went to the police station that morning and showed them the messages. The officer I spoke to explained that they could not pull user information from the app without a court order in a formal legal process. They took a report but were upfront that without a court order compelling the app to release account data, there was not much they could do quickly. I went home and locked every window in the apartment. I checked them twice. Then I checked them again before I went to bed that night. I spent the following week sleeping with a lamp on and waking up at every sound the building made. Old buildings make a lot of sounds. I woke up a lot. Maria's account went quiet after that morning. No more messages, no more online indicator, just silence. I never found out who she was. I never found out how long she had been watching my apartment, how she knew I was asleep, or how she had found the window. I never found out if she had been inside or just at the window. The closet door moving was real. I know what I saw. My brother was standing right there, and he saw it too. Something caused that door to move. We did not find anyone. But not finding anyone is not the same as no one being there. That distinction matters more to me now than it did at 26. 3 stories, 3 men, 3 different situations where someone on the other end of a phone was not who they said they were, or not where they said they were. Darius walked into a house because a girl on OkCupid told him to, and 4 men were waiting inside. I slept through a stranger arriving at my building at 3 in the morning and woke up to a message asking how I slept and a closet door that was opening on his own. And Connor let someone stay the night because he did not know how to say no and woke up to an empty floor, a dark kitchen, a voice talking to the wall. None of it announced itself as dangerous. That is the thing. Every step felt like the next logical step. Brenna texted like a real person. Maria messaged like a real person. Kylie showed up looking like someone who just needed a quiet evening. They all felt real right up until the moment they did not. When you are talking to someone on a screen, you do not have any of the instincts that you would have in person. You cannot hear how they sound when they pause too long before answering. You cannot see their expression when they ask where you live. You cannot feel the room change when something goes wrong. You just see words, and words can be anything. My apartment is on the 2nd floor. The window I forgot to lock that February is now locked every single night regardless of the season. I check it before I go to bed the same way I check that the front door is locked. It takes 5 seconds. It took 1 night of a closet door moving in the dark to make that a permanent habit. And if Maria is still out there somewhere, still finding profiles, still asking for addresses at 10 at night, I genuinely hope that whoever she messages next is not home alone. Because the scariest part of that whole week was not the messages. It was not even the closet door. It was waking up at 6:30 in the morning to a message from someone asking how I slept, and realizing they already knew the answer.